in hindsight, it's like I wish I would have just invested coaching earlier because I listened to enough testimonials after a while and just getting frustrated with myself. And it's like, okay, I have some money. Let's just do it. Like I can't do any worse than I am doing on my own, you know? So, I mean, if I could tell a young man now, it's like before college, I would invest in like dating coaching. A lot of men don't invest in it at all. And they're living beneath their privileges. They're living beneath what they're capable of.
So would you say it was a good return on investment?
Yes. It's a good return on investment.
Welcome to another episode of Client Success Stories. Today, I'm interviewing one of my past clients, Nathan, and we're going to go through his before and after story. And we'll hear from him in a second, but let me just kind of break down Nathan's story. When Nathan came to me, he was struggling with women. He was getting stuck in the friend zone a lot. Now, there's one thing he was really getting frustrated with is he would go on first and second dates, but then after that, the girls would kind of drop off. And when he came to me, he was at the point where, he was sick of just like randomly dating. He wanted to find a girl he was truly attracted to and, form a long-term relationship and, just get his life started. And then fast forward, after our coaching, he met a beautiful Brazilian girl, and they eventually got married, and then they bought a house together, and then now they have kids, 3 kids, if I'm not, two kids, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, 2 kids. So I love this story because we started with just a single guy living with a bunch of roommates and having a dream, and then we came full circle to the point where he's a family man. He started a real life house, wife, kids, super inspiring, super amazing. And Nathan didn't have everything going for him. He had some real challenges, which we're going to talk about today. So I think it's going to really inspire you guys. So welcome, Nathan. I'm super happy to have you here.
Yeah, thanks, Jad. Glad to be here and happy to share my story. Hope it helps someone else out.
Yeah, thank you so much for volunteering. By the way, guys, like everyone who's volunteering on these success stories, they're doing it absolutely like there's no side benefit. They're just doing it because they want to help you, and they're just being like open and vulnerable because they're a man who was in the same position as you were in, and they just want to help you. So, big respect to you for that, Nathan. So, I think the question I've been starting with everyone is, how does it feel now being on the other side?
That's a broad question, but there's a lot of different feelings. It is nice to come home and have someone who is genuinely you're attracted to, but is also your best friend, and it's just a really comforting feeling. Like, I think there's a lot of men who are lonely, and there's, I don't know if you call it an epidemic. I guess you could call it an epidemic of lonely men, at least in the West, but there's various reasons for that. But regardless, going from, thinking I, knew what I was doing and, watching a lot of YouTube videos from Jad and other folks definitely helps. But some of us need that extra accountability and being able to see blind spots, because that's what Jad was able to help me see pretty much in the first coaching call we had. And as soon as he started saying, "Oh, I know exactly what's your issue," it was like all these light bulbs started going off. It's like, oh, well, duh. It's just like small little changes that I needed to make, help me, get over my stubbornness and just trying the same thing over again and getting over frustration and being able to just relax a bit. And that was one of my biggest issues, was be able to, trying to memorize and recite what I learned from YouTube videos as opposed to just being more natural, and developing a genuine connection. So that's a long answer to your question, but in short, it feels good. Put it that way. It feels good. I think everyone at some point has that desire to like, okay, I want someone to kind of tackle life with together. And I don't know, it's in my opinion, it's kind of how humans have we've gotten this far is like, let's pair off and let's build a family and through thick and thin. And uh, it's much better doing that than being alone, going at it alone. So yeah.
Nice, nice. Yeah, very, very good answer. And feel free to give long answers. One side note I'd like to give is that Nathan and his family are Christians, and so because a lot of guys are coming to me these days, I'm not gonna say like, well, yeah, a lot of guys that are coming to me are like, follow the Christian faith, and so just letting you guys know, like, my coaching really does fit that. So let's go back to some of the things you were struggling with. So one thing with Nathan too, I like to, sorry to point out like the the past weaknesses you had, but it's to give other guys hope because like you're saying, there's kind of like an epidemic here where guys basically are feeling like, you know what, maybe this is hopeless. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this, right? So some things that Nathan was struggling with, one was that sometimes in social situations, he would be like extremely closed off and quiet, and sometimes like the quietest person in the room. And like it really would get in the way of him connecting and getting anywhere because it was just we just like closed off. Another big thing was the dates, right? Like contrary to a lot of other guys, Nathan was actually getting quite a number of dates from online dating, if I'm not mistaken. But then they weren't going anywhere. And then that was really frustrating the hell out of him. So can you just kind of riff off either one or just riff off of that a bit?
Yeah. So the first one, uh, being the quietest person in the room, like, I'm still occasionally I listen to our old coaching calls. They were 3 years, 2.5 years ago now. I still have them on my phone just because there's a lot of wisdom I feel Jad shared, and they're good reminders. But some of us like have social anxiety, shyness, and it's developed either through, not developing our social skills, spending too much time indoors on porn or video games or internet, or all the above or more, drugs, whatever, trying to, find cheap ways to feel good. Humans though, like humans have been around a while. We kind of know what makes people happy and in the long term. And what makes people happy in the long term, one of them is relationships. Because when you're on your deathbed, that's who's going to be by your side is the people you develop close relationships with, and it's usually your family. So, um, some of us, though, are just naturally have anxiety, shyness, and we don't, maybe there's a scientific reason why, but we don't know. And that's just naturally, that's the way we are. And Jad helped me realize, like, maybe that's you, Nathan, and that's okay. We don't have to like conquer it tomorrow or even conquer it at all. You just have to learn to manage it. And one thing I was doing, I was going out because there's like young adult activities I would go to and wouldn't talk to anybody. That's always how I've been for years, And once I get in a one-on-one conversation with someone, it's a lot easier for me. And that's a trademark of, just social anxiety in general. But one thing Jad told me to do was, don't stop putting pressure on yourself. You're putting way too much pressure on yourself, like subconsciously my mind was racing and just like, I felt like I had to talk to the prettiest girl or, basically talk to the prettiest girls in the group. And I had to like really impress them. So I didn't want to, mess up. And what that does though is again puts too much pressure on yourself, especially if you're struggling with shyness or social anxiety, or depression. The better way to look at it is just go out with no expectations and just you got to start somewhere and just try to have conversations, even if it starts with "Hi, how are you?" with smile. Don't forget to smile, and you have to do that with everybody. You can't just talk to the pretty girls. You need to develop talking to everybody, because that'll help make it easier when you do find your dream girl that comes across your way. It's like you've already, even if you're, not Mr. Romeo at that point, at least at the very least, you develop you reps under your belt. You got reps under your belt. So that was certainly helpful, help relieve some pressure. And also, I didn't realize at the time, though I had friends try to tell me before, close friends politely try to tell me before, things Jad pointed out is that when you're struggling with shyness or social anxiety, it can, and then trying to memorize, specific points of game, off YouTube, which can work in some situations, but, real interactions are dynamic, they're not always going to be exactly play out how you've seen a YouTube video. So hence that's why coaching comes in. But I was coming off, especially on dates, kind of transitioning into dates, because I was able to get dates on dating apps because it was I use mostly Christian dating apps, so Tinder, Bumble, those big major ones, are kind of like an all-encompassing umbrella. But if you're part of a religious group or whatever, some sort of interest group, I know there's a dating app for everything now. At least for me, that I found more success and more women who are interested in that way. That just worked for me. But anyway, regardless, tying back into what I was saying before, when I would go on dates, like Jad was saying, often 1 or 2 dates wouldn't go anywhere. And again, within the first coaching call, after telling him feedback what was going on my dates, he could tell him pretty quickly what's going on is that I was being fake. And women were sensing that. They didn't know exactly what it was, but I didn't realize that I was, being Mr. Cool, trying to be Mr. Cool because my anxiety was telling me that's what you have to do in order to be successful. And in reality, I was coming across as fake and weird, and something seemed off, is what some girls told me, And well, not some girls, like there's only one girl. No other girl, most girls won't give you feedback. They'll just ghost you, But I did have a friend who tried to set me up with a couple of his friends, and they told him, all of them told the same thing, that they were kind of upset that frankly, that he set me up with them because I was, they thought I was cute. They thought I was funny, but they were turned off by, you could say awkward behavior, and Jad helped me realize again that I was being fake and having anxiety. When you're struggling with anxiety, you're kind of up in your head sometimes without realizing it, thinking too much. And instead of just being able to relax and just let her know, like, hey, I think you're pretty, and I'm just a little nervous. Just kind of play it off that way. Is little things like that Jed helped me realize were okay to mention and helped ease the tension and helped me stop being less fake and be more real and be more honest and become more even generally interested in her and not feel like I had to, like, okay, if you don't go for the first kiss by X number of dates or the dates goes really well, at the end of the first date, you need to go for the kiss. Otherwise, she's going to think you're a chump, And I'm sure some women think that. But in my case, oftentimes it came off as too strong. And, or the girls who would kiss or make out on the first date, a lot of them felt kind of guilty about it. And so they thought, like, oh, this is going too fast, So, anyway, the point saying is, for my case, that just had Jad help me realize just a few little blind spots that I had and just help me recalibrate my dates to where they were more genuine, more authentic, and I wasn't trying to force anything, which subconsciously I was trying to do because, hey, I'm a guy, like, hey, you're a pretty girl, and we're horny as hell sometimes, and so we need to control them. Not sometimes, we're always are, but you got to learn to, be normal, I guess, is a way of putting it. And like, I was thinking of women like, oh my gosh, and they see a guy like they they're like, my perspective, I think right now, like most women are just praying or thinking like, oh my gosh, I hope this guy isn't awkward or weird or too forceful. Like, um, just want to be normal. Because like a guy who can like, hey, I admit I think you're pretty or I think you're hot, and I'm myself. They can be themselves, just their normal selves around them, and talk with these women, like their best friends. Like, oh my gosh, these women are like, oh my gosh, finally, a guy is like, pretty women know they're pretty. They get attention all the time, but most guys can't handle their intimidation, can't handle the intimidation.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I always tell like that's one thing I always say, like one of the most underrated skills is the ability to just be a regular, normal dude around a hot girl. Like that's one of the most underrated skills. Cool, cool. Thank you. So, yeah. So basically, when we corrected a few things, some big changes happened, and you started connecting with women, started getting more positive results, and ultimately started finding success. I want to ask you, like, I remember distinctly having a conversation with you. Nathan was doing the same thing a lot of you guys were doing, which is he was struggling like hell, going through a lot of pain, but still refusing to get coaching and just like, trying to do it on his own, watch videos. And there was a point where I was doing, me and Nathan kind of like I sent out a, kind of like a message to my subscribers saying, hey guys, let's do like a skills exchange. Like you help me with some website stuff and I'll help you with coaching and exchange. So Nathan was kind of helping me on the social media side with that, doing a bit of an exchange. And so he would help me, and then in exchange, I would, give him some coaching. But it was like bite-sized coaching, right? Bite-sized coaching in exchange for his bite-size whatever. And I could tell, like, man, this guy's got potential, but like this guy needs more help, right? And so like eventually I just like sat him down and I'm like, dude, look, if you're serious about this, just invest in this. Just like go all in. I can help you, but you got to invest in this, right? I don't know if you remember that conversation.
remember the email vaguely, but not the conversation. But
No,
I
like we
trust
had
you.
a conversation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I basically told him like, bro, like you want to get this, just like, invest, go all in, and then I'll hook you up, right? We'll get this done. And so, thankfully, he listened and he invested. And now fast forward, family, kids, house. Okay, so, uh, what made you finally say, okay, look, because like, look, it's no secret, right? Nobody's like, yay, let me go pay money to a coach, right? Everyone's like, look, the information's free online. Why the fuck am I going to pay thousands of dollars to a coach, right? And you only do it when it's finally like, okay, So what's that tipping point for you where you realize like, okay, like I think I need some help here. Like maybe it's going to be a smarter decision to just, invest some money in this.
Yeah, that's a good question. Excuse me. Well, that time I was getting to my late 20s. I was in my late 20s. I've been on lots of dates, kissed lots of girls, had a few serious relationships, but none of them were quite the girl or the relationship that I had in mind. And in addition to that, I'm also into bodybuilding, and there's with any skill, you've come to learn the hard way that if you want to learn anything, social skills, dating, exercising, whatever it is, excuse me, there's a lot of information for free that's out there. It's another factor, is another part of it. You actually you can't just consume, you have to actually apply it, which is second step. But the third step is, okay, maybe you're applying it, but you need more accountability, either because you're not fully applying it, like say an exercise regimen. You're not like, oh, I bought the about the exercise routine, but I'm only going to the gym once a week, you know? Or I listen to Jad's videos a lot, but oh yeah, I revisited his video. Like, oh yeah, I totally forgot. I shouldn't have done that because he said not to do that, you know? At that point, it's like, okay. And, coaching's expensive and lots of guys, we don't have, tons of money floating around. Excuse me. But in hindsight, it's like, I wish I would have just invested coaching earlier because, I listened to enough testimonials after a while and just getting frustrated with myself. And it's like, okay, you know, I have some money. Let's just do it. Like I can't do any worse than I am doing on my own, you know? So, I mean, if I could tell a young man now, it's like before college, I would invest in like dating coaching, most likely any sort of virtual entertainment coaching. So video games, porn, internet, any sort of artificial stimulation. I think lots of guys are addicted to one or all those, as well as fitness. And if you invest in those before college, I mean, I think you'll be a much further ahead than you will just sitting in a classroom, in terms of life. Obviously, you need to make money. So obviously don't negate education, however you get it. That will, get you, make a living, allow you to make a living. But a lot of those skills, dating skills, exercise, whatever, a lot of men don't invest in it at all. And they're living beneath their privileges. They're living beneath what they're capable of, underneath their potential. So I
Yeah,
certainly
and they're
was.
missing like the lifestyle, right? So in a way, we could say like Nathan invested in coaching, and the return on investment is a dream girl, kids, house, life, right? Like one thing a lot of guys come to me when they come to me for coaching, they're like, Jad, like I I, I feel like my life is on hold. Like I want to build a family. I want to have someone to share my life with, to go on trips with, to cuddle on the couch with. And then I'm just like, I got some guys, like they got the money, but then they're like, I have nothing. I just realized like I put my head down, worked, okay, I have a money, a car, a place, but like I have no one to share it with. So it's like, yeah, so would you say it was a good return on investment?
Yes, yes, it's a good return on investment.
Yes, and let the laugh be the answer, right? Like it's such a stupid question for someone who's already done it. You're like, and same for me. I've paid thousands of dollars to coaches too, and I never stayed up 1 second thinking about that money, right? I'm thinking about the my life. In the end of the day, guys, all we have is our memories. At the end of the day, and time is finite. People are over obsessed with money and under obsessed with time. You can get more money, you can't get more time, right? So, um, you wanna grow old without regrets. You wanna grow old knowing you did everything in your power to get this part of your life handled, and set yourself up to live a life full of beautiful memories.
If I could add to that, I mean, some will say, well, if you invest in, why would you invest in coaching or any sort of coaching? You're missing out on, you could use that money in living your life. And it's like, well, what does that mean? Like binge watch more TV shows, like go on trips. I mean, none of those things are bad necessarily, but I mean, trips are great, Um, they create memories, good memories. But I mean, I think a lot of us get sucked into the trap of just like work, come home, work. Oh, I'm exhausted. Just consume stuff, don't invest in yourself. Just consume whatever it is, virtually or food or whatever. There's a lot of options to consume things, and you have to, it's like, it's not really, to me, at least, that's not, having done that, it's not really fully living. Living to me is like squeezing, like you said, like as many positive memories as you can. And the way to do that is to invest in yourself. So you can develop that lifestyle and develop the relationships that will create those memories, Um, yeah.
Yeah, so true. So Nathan, next question is, can you tell us kind of like how you met your wife? Maybe guys are like kind of curious.
Yeah. So I was actually on the it was a dating app for my denomination, just for us, and there I was one night just swiping through as normal and see this beautiful Latina woman, Brazilian woman. I don't know much about Brazil other than Pele and steakhouses and beautiful girls. I was like, they're known around the world for being beautiful. Even if you have never talked to a Brazilian, they have a stereotype of, oh yeah, anyway, they're beautiful, which is generally true, and she was no different. And, I was imagining I was going to marry like some tall, blonde, Scandinavian girl, but here's this tall, dark haired, sexy Latina lady. I'm like, oh, she also looks really good too. I'm like, I'll swipe on her, and sure enough, we actually matched on my birthday, and I sent her a message late at my birthday, and anyway, we just go back and forth, and like I just like, hey, good to meet you. I don't speak much Portuguese, blah blah blah. Just trying to develop this little connection, as you have to do on dating apps. Just ask a few questions, make sure you're both reasonably comfortable with each other, and then after about a day of messaging, asked her out. She had to flake on the first date. I was kind of annoyed, but the second date she was picked her up. She actually, when I picked her up, she was also living with roommates, and she was here on a tourist visa. So she came through the normal process, the legal process, but just wanted to just kind of figure out life herself. Like had just got let go from her job, so she got a severance and decided to use that severance to come visit the U.S. because she always wanted to visit here, and she didn't really have a really specific goal in mind. She just felt that God was telling her to come visit here, frankly. She didn't want to go to Disneyland or Disney World or any of the other places most Brazilians love to go to, or Vegas. Vegas she liked. But regardless, Utah is quite different from Vegas. And so she was here on tourist visa and decided, like, might as well prove my English and date American guys, see if anything works out, because she wasn't expecting much. She was expecting to fly back to Brazil in a few months, and like, okay, and I'll figure my little 6-month retreat and then go back to Brazil and go to flight attendant school. She already had her return home tickets back when I met her. And anyway, fast forward to when I picked her up. First day, she actually sent her roommate, who was also Brazilian. And I was a little confused, and she goes, oh, no, don't worry, she's coming. And I later learned that she sent her roommate to check me out first, to make sure I wasn't weird or creepy. And she comes up, and her roommate said I was really handsome, and he actually looks like a man. He's not dressed like a boy, so
Nice,
wearing
nice, nice.
wearing my V-neck shirt as Jad told me to do. So,
All right.
so, she goes, oh, really? Like, oh, yeah, he's super handsome. Like, okay. She later told me that she could tell I was nervous. I thought I was, I thought I was doing well, being okay, but, some of us are just more nervous, and that's okay. But she thought it was cute. And anyway, first day we ended up talking a lot, and we actually go back to her place, and actually just nothing happened there other than we just talked some more. And she's like, oh, well, this girl's kind of easy to talk to. Didn't know what to expect really. I just thought she was hot, and like, don't know much about Brazil, but she spoke English fairly well, had an accent, but I could understand everything. And anyway, obviously at dating apps, there's, different girls to go out with, and had other matches at the time too. But I'm like, like, I'm not sure. I was thinking long term already, like, will this even go anywhere? Like, she's already, like, she's only here for a few months, and her English is okay, but, she has some work to do. And I don't know anything about their culture. And it's like, I don't know. But something told me it's like, no, you had a good time. She's easy to talk to and she's pretty. And she seems cool. So ask her out again. And yeah, it was I made a mistake in that I waited a day before texting her, which some guys on YouTube tell you like, oh, don't be too needy, but uh yeah,
Yeah, this is
had
something I
Jed
lecture
tried.
guys all the time about. I'm like, don't do that. Don't wait. Like when you got the momentum, don't like just ghost her for a day, bro. Like that's so
Yeah.
1997, you know? Yeah, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, she was frankly, yeah, she was surprised that I asked her out again. She thought I would didn't have a good time, but no, I did. And the second day, I have had something planned, and then she's like, "Oh, it's actually my birthday next week. Do you want to come to Texas Roadhouse to have celebrate my birthday with me and a couple of my friends?" I'm like, "Sure, I guess." Like, okay. Yeah. So I go. She's wearing this super cute skirt and like, oh man, and a hat. Like, oh man, she looks sexy. Like, oh wow. Whoop. Anyway, she um and leggings too. Oh man. Anyway, I digress. She looked really cute. And
Nice, nice.
but her friends were all Latina as well, and like two of them didn't speak English, and one of them did. But so I was there with three Latino women and me at a Texas Roadhouse, surrounded by this, this ultra
Not
American
bad, not
restaurant.
bad.
But yeah, they have conversations in Portuguese that I didn't understand. So I thought like, oh, okay, like I want to like show that I can be friendly with everyone. That she's thinking she brought me here just to see it, like as a test to see if my friends like her or her friends like me, and so I started talking with her friend who spoke English and just asked her normal conversations like how she likes the U.S. And of course she loved it. And anyway, long story short, at the end of the date, I offered to take her home, and she goes, my now wife, and offered to take her home, and she's like, "Are you sure?" And all of her lady friends like, "Go, of course, go," and like, and she's like, "Oh, okay," She later told me that she was kind of sort of testing me to see if I would actually, offer to give her a ride home and be a gentleman as opposed to just letting her go home with her friends. But anyway, yeah. Then I took her home and uh, she invited me to come in. It was late at night, and I said, "No, I can't. I got work tomorrow." And um, in Brazilian culture, Brazilian dating, that's actually she wasn't trying to like necessarily like make out with me or get some. She was actually it's just polite, and they stay up. Brazilians, Latins tend to stay up really late, much later than Americans or Canadians do. So I thought it was like, oh wow, that's pretty fast. But she again later told me it's good. I said no because later she told me no, I was just being polite. Um,
Yeah,
anyway,
we actually have that in the Lebanese culture too. Like if somebody drives you home, like yeah, man or woman, whatever, it's like, oh, you can, come up for a coffee, come up for something, like even if it's like late at night, just because like yeah, it's the polite thing to do. Like if they drove you all the way home, it's kind of rude in our culture to just be like, okay, thanks. Even though like yeah, in Western culture you wouldn't even think of that. But yeah, so just to back up what Nathan is saying, guys, just in case you're like skeptical, it's the like Eastern cultures, even though like Brazil's like on the other side, but yeah, that's a thing.
yeah, I didn't know that, but again, it worked out because I took her on a third date, which again I made a mistake of waiting a day. Yeah, she later told me she's like, I don't know if you liked me or not at that point. It's like,
What's up with this
yeah.
guy?
So I stumbled my yeah. So even word of hope though, like if you can still make mistakes and still, if you have enough of a connection, if you like each other enough, then it can work out anyway. So
Yeah,
you just gotta yeah have faith and I was doing my best though, trying my hardest to be not fake. And all these days I was trying to like, okay, I got to be, relaxed, just be myself, don't push it. Just let it flow naturally, as Jad told me. Because I was, again, before, like, okay, if you don't kiss by the first or second date, you're a chump, I was like, no, no, no.
Yeah, he had all these
Depends.
you had all these pickup rules in your head from all the brainwashing that, when you watch too many pickup videos that end up messing you up.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So in the end, like, we're all human beings, and like, we just happen to be attracted to females, and like, which is good. It's obviously not happen to be, it's how we're designed, but you get my point. We're all human, and what we crave is like a connection. The way you get connection, emotional connection, is through doing things together and through talking and conversation. And then
Very good.
if she
Very
feels
good.
comfortable, then that's where both feel comfortable, being more physically intimate. And the third date was funny because at the time I played rec on a men's league for indoor soccer, and I'm like, oh, she likes soccer. She's Brazilian, which I think was a stereotype, but it was actually
Yeah.
true. It was a true stereotype. And after the game, she was like, I'm like, oh, so what'd you think? And she just like, Then she went off like 10 minutes on how crappy my game was and how crappy my team was and how, which,
You didn't
like,
realize you were, yeah, she's Brilliant. She's a pro watching you guys.
she's never played a game of soccer in her life. But even then, she knows the basics, and she's like, yeah,
That's hilarious.
I could coach you guys better than how you play. I'm like, okay, like, fair enough. Anyway, but it was funny. And anyway, I
I
took her
love all
home
these
and
mess ups you're listing. This is awesome.
yeah, like I said, like, she went along because she's like, hey, she could tell, like, hey, yeah, he's nervous. He's, not he's waiting a day to text, but hey, he is. I feel good around him, and we have a good time when we're together. So anyway, that date, after that soccer game, we get some dinner at my place, and she tries to teach me some Brazilian dance moves, and I did not pick up on her signals that she wanted me to kiss her, because again, I was trying to be super, just extra careful, not to scare her off as I did with other girls. But I missed those signals because we were too cautious. But then afterwards, I drove her back to her place, and she didn't even say where. She just goes, she just points inside the house. She's like, "Get inside." I'm like, "Okay." So anyway, within a few minutes, cut up on the couch and both turn, we start making out, and it's like, all right, there we go. Like, anyway, we start going on more dates more consistently, and they're going great. But then, of course, reality sets in, and she's like, well, this was October, and she's just like, well, I have flights, my tickets are home, flight home. I have my plane tickets home. They fly out in December, and she's like, where are we? And, eventually, yeah, I don't want to take too long. Eventually, we become official in October, only a month after dating. And at that point, like, we were like, she had previously, like, she had converted to my denomination, but then she stopped practicing for a few years, moved in with her boyfriend down in Brazil, and then broke up with him. And that's when around that time, she wanted to, like, figure her life out, what she wanted. And
Nice.
at that time, we
I'm gonna kind of redirect you here a bit. So, yeah, I think like that's enough for the guys. Like that's a cool story, and I think like what I wanna come back on is like I want everyone who's watching, like, look at all the mistakes or imperfect, things Nathan did, and not to even tell you, Nathan, like, oh, you did. Even me, Jad T Jones, I can tell you sometimes the girl would be like, oh yeah, you were nervous the first time, and I'm like, I thought it was great. And then like, so that's kind of like, fuck, like, right? Or like sometimes we hesitate. Sometimes we're nervous. Sometimes we don't do something right, or we miss a sign or whatever. So I loved that story because there are so many points where guys would think, oh, okay, that's it, I blew it or whatever. But here's the piece we forget, guys, is that when a girl likes you, and you're not being a douchebag, but when a girl likes you, she's also forgiving, and she's also gonna give you some leeway. Like with Nathan, when she like eventually told you like just get in here, she basically like she's like, okay, this guy is like either like he's missing the signs or he's too scared to make a mistake. Let me just help him out here a bit, like, So that'll happen too. So the reason why I'm highlighting that it's okay to make mistakes is that guys, don't feel hopeless, and don't keep waiting for things to be perfect before going after women. So many guys are hiding behind this excuse of, oh well, I just gonna just study the game, 6 more months, get ready. What I discovered is you're never ready. You're never ready. It's jump out of the plane and build your parachute on the way down. Another saying that a lot of people resonated, back in the day when I said it was, success is messy. So even Nathan now is giving us the short version. Like if he keeps going, he'll give you like his story was messy, right? Another beautiful thing that I want to point out in your story, Nathan, is like Steve Jobs says, you can never connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking back, right? Nathan, me or Nathan, we had no idea that how he was going to meet his dream girl. And when he met her, he had no idea how they were going to end up being together, right? You just got to show up. So showing up is another huge piece of the puzzle, right? So my guys, they show up for the coaching. They're like, okay, I'm going to invest. I'm going to take a risk. And then they show up by going out there, putting themselves out there. It's painful. It's hard. It wasn't easy, right? So I have the biggest respect I have is for my students, because they're like gangsters. They're warriors because they have a dream and they have a huge obstacle. But despite the obstacle, they always let their dream be bigger than the obstacle. Okay, like Nathan, when he was struggling, guys, he was in a dark place. Like he was fucking frustrated. He was like, I remember it was not like pretty, and I'm not saying like suicidal or anything, but just like he was frustrated. He was sad. He was like, fuck, like I've tried so hard, and just like, and so if you're in that spot right now, we were there too. And that's when we reached out for help, and that's when we got a breakthrough. So sometimes, yes, you're a man. Yes, you're tough. And also, yes, sometimes a men need help too. Okay? The next thing I want to point out too is that you may be thinking like, oh, Christian dating app? Well, I'm Christian. Oh, I've never tried that. Maybe that's my answer. And you're just going to go to the Christian dating app thing, even though you've been struggling for 5 years. The reason why Nathan was able to close the deal with his wife is because before matching with her, he prepared for his opportunity with the coaching. Had he not prepared for his opportunity and he had matched, he would have messed up. Probably, I'm not going to say 100%, but there's a high probability he would not have closed the deal. He would have messed up because he would have showed up fake, not connection, didn't have connection. Maybe even, I don't remember if we worked on your fashion, but maybe so there's a great saying is like, when a man meets his opportunity, if you meet your opportunity and you're not ready, your opportunity will only make you look foolish. So don't be like, oh, Christian dating app, I'm Christian. Okay, that's the answer. No, the answer is prepare for your opportunity so that when God brings that opportunity in front of you, you're ready. So those are just some things I wanted to highlight. I don't know is there anything you want to riff off of that? You don't necessarily have to, just wondering.
I think just reiterating, if be prepared, like you were saying, there's a phrase like, or a saying like something opportunity is when preparation meets, I don't know how it goes. Anyway, the point is that, like Jad was saying, I was just correcting my blind spots allowed me to connect with a girl from. Turns out for whatever reason, I connect a lot better with Latin Latin girl than I did with my own, fellow American girl, and like it was like I felt, because I could be myself, and I was focused on being myself instead of being fake and or worrying about my anxiety with her because I'd prepared beforehand, and uh, I did not know I would have such a easy chemistry, easy connection with her, and like we'd only been dating like 2 or 3 months, and I remember thinking like I feel like both of us felt like we feel like we've known each other for a lot longer than just a few months, and that's just again like our personalities just clicked, and but I wouldn't have known that if I was still trying to do what I was doing before, and you know subconsciously going through all those pickup nonsense, and instead just had some Jad shine the light. It's like, just a few little, like you're almost there, just a few little corrections to recalibrate how you're interacting with women and people in general. And that was my missing piece. And everyone's going to be different, going to be in a different spot when you get ready for coaching. But for me, that's what, made the difference.
Nice, nice. Cool. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up here. I hope you guys found some value in today, some really good lessons. Thank you for being open and vulnerable with your story, Nathan. I think the biggest balls is when a man can show up and be vulnerable, not like show up and be like, "Hey, I'm cool and I'm perfect, and here's all the perfect cool things I did," but instead say like, "Hey, here's where I messed up. Here's where I was an idiot. Here's a." That's true confidence, right? And that's what we're doing. That's what we're teaching. And so Nathan is a motherfucking man. He's a man's man. He takes care of shit, all over the place. Now family man, got kids, wife, house, job, fashion. He just got ripped. He's not he's not addicted to like he dropped the vices. None of us are perfect, right? But he dropped the vices. He's not like porn, video games, all this bullshit, right? He's being an example for his people, example for his community, someone his wife can respect, and other men can respect. So that's what we're going for here. So big respect to you, Nathan. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you in the next.
All right. Thanks,
Peace.
Jad. Peace.